8 new positive cases in NCD. Government considers another supplementary budget. And Governor Ipatas insists on better terms for Enga.
This is National MTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Tuesday's news. We'll bring you our main stories later on in the bulletin, but first, National Capital District's upgrade of settlement to suburb program got off the ground today with the 9 Mile Quarry Association to pioneer this project. Prime Minister James Marape launched the program in a show of his government support to this initiative. Work has already started over the weekend, with houses demolished to make way for roads into this new soon-to-be suburb.
NCDC launched a strategic plan to convert settlements into suburbs in 2016. The plan was to end settlements in Port Moresby by 2026, and the first step to achieve this plan started today. NCD Governor Powes Parkop says, although many will lose properties along the way as the upgrade exercise begins, it is for a better tomorrow.
We have demolished some houses. We have pulled down some structures. We have cut off power and water. We have subjected some of our people to pain and misery. So I thank you all. But I want you all to bear with all of us. The important thing is that tomorrow is going to be better than today. That's the most important thing.
Said it is an expensive exercise to implement, with initial cost estimates in 2016 at 400 million, and given the current economic conditions, he says the cost may be higher, but adds that money invested in this program is money well spent. 15 titles have already been obtained for this area when Moresby South MP Justin Techenko was the lands minister, and Parkop says they will continue to work until the project is completed. Moresby South MP Justin Techenko confirmed processing 15 titles when he was lands minister and concurred with Governor Parkop on the importance of upgrading settlements to suburbs.
This is the first footstep forward for many thousands of footsteps to be done and worked through over the years to come. It's not going to be easy, but a little bit of pain for long-term gain.
Prime Minister James Marape applauded the governor for the initiative and announced his government support for this program.
May give him commitment of Iplapinis or some this conversion of settlement to urbanization program to proper suburb program will become part of national government program for the next 10 years. And we will start now.
He also made a commitment to help settlers who have already been displaced when work started over the weekend for roads to be constructed. He will put some money to help resettle those affected so roads can be built before the allocation of titles take place. Ruth Rungola, National MTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape has announced 8 new coronavirus cases in Port Moresby, bringing the total to 27 positive cases reported in the country thus far. From the 8, 2 are doctors, 1 is a lab technician, and the 5 are family members of the medical officers. Marape says a new normal will be put in place in Port Moresby, including social distancing and the need for masks to be worn in public. Announcement on this will be made tomorrow. Meanwhile, an investigation has been launched to find out exactly how medical officers in the Central Public Health Laboratory contracted COVID-19.
Especially residents of Port Moresby, to be very careful in their public movements, as well as in the home setting and in the workplace setting, because it is now evident COVID-19 is present in the nation's capital. I'd like to stress again, every time I do stress, we're not immune from COVID-19 infection in our country. COVID-19 can affect each and every one of us, and we just have to be careful. And I call upon every Papua New Guinean to be highly sensitive to the fact that COVID-19 is here, can infect anyone. We mustn't be complacent or too relaxed about this one. At this stage, take hardline approach as yet, like we did it during the state of emergency period. We will deploy facilities and protocols as required through our National Pandemic Act on a stage-by-stage approach in a localized manner. And some of the requirements will come out clear in a similar media release tomorrow after being advised by our medical advisory team here who will advise the Minister for Health as to what to do. But as I speak today, simple message that we must continue to promote, and the NCDC leadership led by Governor Pakop will be partnering churches and other distribution networks throughout our city to help distribute masks to every citizen. And mask wearing will be a mandatory requirement if you want to travel in public places or participate in public occasions in a safe COVID-19 distance. So mask becomes a #1 prerequisite of public place traveling or participation for our citizens. And they're supposed to be equipped. And in as far as I know from National Control Center, all our health facilities nationwide have PPEs supplied already. They should be the first one wearing PPEs in as far as their work is concerned in dealing with whether it's investigation or dealing with curative handling of established patients. And I've asked our health secretary to provide a detailed report on this one, and hopefully as part of my conversations tomorrow a detailed report will come out as to exactly what happened in this latest cluster, where a cluster from what should have been people, and mind you, we pay respect to them, they have been in the front line. I can't preempt what has happened. They've always been in the front line. Something happened and they became exposed. And so, but it certainly, in my view, PPEs were supplied, safe workplace practice and protocols were established. They would have gone through this one and asked for a report as to what happened at that workplace.
The closure of the Central Public Health Laboratory located within Port Moresby General Hospital will not affect essential services at the hospital. CEO Dr. Paki Molumi stressed this as more medical officers test positive for COVID-19.
Port Moresby General Hospital since Monday has indefinitely stopped non-essential services to allow time for decontamination and contact tracing. These measures are being taken after a patient tested positive for COVID-19. The female patient, who died of stage 4 cancer, was only tested for COVID-19 after she passed away. Dr. Molumi explains that this is a routine testing as directed by the controller for all patients that have died at the hospital.
We have protocols in place to handling of corpse as per the WHO protocol, so that's been applied now. Yes. So we are talking to the relatives. Okay. So our team is part of the surveillance that through the NCD surveillance team, that anyone who is confirmed positive, they do contact tracing and go backwards.
The hospital has ceased all non-essential services, but will remain open for the main emergency services, children's emergency, and labor ward. Dr. Molumi says their priority remains the same, and that is patient and staff care and safety.
So, in protecting our staff plus our patients, PPE is mandatory, and we have adequate PPEs for now. Yes, and also infection control training is ongoing by our infection control team. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the closure of the Central Public Health Laboratory, although located within the hospital's premises, will not affect the co-functions of the hospital. The laboratory closed its doors after 4 of its staff tested positive for COVID-19. Lilian Sopera Kinea, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more stories after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. He's back in Parliament and the first order of business is picking up where he left off, challenging the validity of the Prime Minister. Opposition leader and member for Vanimo Green, Belden Nama, filed again a Supreme Court application to see whether parliamentary processes were rightfully followed when Parliament voted member for Taripori James Marape as the Prime Minister.
Opposition leader Belden Nama held his first press conference today in Parliament House after being reinstated by the National Court. Greeting the media with all smiles, the opposition leader had three things on his mind. But criticizing Police Minister Brian Kramer and thanking his supporters for standing behind him during his court cases did not take center stage. The voting of member for Taripori James Marape was the first on the agenda. The opposition leader said he does not have a personal vendetta against the Prime Minister James Marape. He just wants to make sure that the process was correct.
And as far as I'm concerned, in my term in politics in Papua New Guinea and on the floor of Parliament, that was the first time it had ever happened that there were three Prime Ministerial candidates. And in the preceding events, one of the nominees in Honorable Peter O'Neill who withdrew his nomination. And I feel that his withdrawal of his nomination was unconstitutional. When he accepted the nomination, it no longer became his possession. It became the possession of Parliament. So his withdrawal of his nomination should seek approval by way of voting in Parliament.
The opposition leader, through his lawyers, filed a Supreme Court application on Monday. He alluded his victory to higher powers, that God still has greater plans for him.
And I would like to take this time to thank PNC and its leader, Honorable Peter O'Neill, who have, with all due respect, left the opposition leader's seat vacant and the office of the opposition leader vacant because I was going through the court battle. When I got the decision on Thursday, I've had a call from the leader of PNC and its members that they have affirmed their support for me to remain in office as the leader of the opposition and to continue my duties and responsibilities as the leader of the opposition.
Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea has set a goal to generate 100% of its electricity from renewable sources by 2050. To achieve this, it must encourage community participation in off-grid and energy-efficient solutions. The United Nations Development Programme, in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, demonstrated the use of such technologies through a series of workshops in Eastern Highlands recently.
Efforts to invest in renewable energy will improve community livelihoods while offering the country an alternative to fossil fuel technologies. Last week, the United Nations Development Programme, in partnership with the Climate Change and Development Authority, or CCDA, and the University of Papua New Guinea's Center of Renewable Energy, demonstrated the use of such technologies through a chain of workshops in the Eastern Highlands province. With only about 15% of the population having access to reliable electricity and more than 70% of the people living in rural areas, the majority of Papua New Guineans have limited or no access to energy.
Here you can see this very big landmass, mostly is covered by coffee trees. The problems we have here is that we do not have electricity power supplied to this area. Therefore, some of the block holders who have set up wet processing plants is now shutting down.
The workshops brought together provincial and district officials, community representatives, non-government organizations and private sector stakeholders to discuss investment plans and opportunities for communities to access renewable energy options. These discussions also marked the beginning of preparations for 2 mini hydro projects scheduled at Miruma village in the Daulo district and Gotomi village in Lufa district.
Mi plan stave walking long him, or mi plan thinking long him. Mi tine I'm in that training and mi clearing tintin lo mi plan. I'm clearing tintin lo mi plan. I'm giving plan some black kind. Good plan look na good plan picture where this la project them come up and halving mi plan lo good plan sindan lo sanda time behind.
This initiative comes under UNDP's Facilitating Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Applications for Greenhouse Gas Emission Reduction or FREEGR project, which is demonstrating the use of community mini-grids using hydro and solar resources for electricity generation to improve livelihoods in rural areas. Lilian Sopera Kinea, National EMTV News.
The Department of Personnel Management today held a workshop for all agency heads on the new online performance management system. The new online or cloud-based performance management system will now be used to appraise line-managed agencies and their agency heads. The workshop, with the theme Embracing Technology for Quality Service, is the implementation stage workshop for all line agency officers to learn how to use this new system.
This web-based system is a homegrown program developed by the department, and it will be utilized by the administration and management of all government agencies. During the workshop today, participants were given an overview of the new cloud-based systems and how it will be used by line managers. The objective is to train participants on how to access the online system and input agency head profiles. They were also taught on the basics of how to input key performance indicators and key result areas of respective line agencies into the new online system. In his opening remarks, Deputy Secretary Executive Resources Services Vele Ravugamani says an important component is to ensure data is correctly entered and at the right time, adding that managing PMS in an organization is important and requires dedicated staff members. He says this is the drive that the department is embarking on to achieve the government's policy directives to manage performance of public servants. And with the government embarking on quality service delivery, the Deputy Secretary hopes this will be able to deliver on the government aspirations. The workshop is the third workshop the Department of Personnel Management has conducted to introduce and roll out this new system. The department will be rolling out the system in the provinces before the end of this year. The Deputy Secretary further thanked the Department of Treasury and National Planning, who have been very supportive of this development. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
With the domestic economy not performing too well as projected, the Marape Stephen government is now considering another supplementary budget. Prime Minister James Marape on FM 100's Talkback show today said the economy wasn't in a healthier state when he took office. And while plans were in place to recover, COVID-19 spun the revenue focus out of proportion.
Prime Minister James Marape says his number one concern is the economy. He said all other issues will be addressed well if the economy is striking well. Responding to public queries on the FM 100's Talkback show, the Prime Minister said we will be able to fully establish where we are once we complete the third quarter.
We were already at a high level of deficit, meaning our economy wasn't producing enough revenue against the need we had. At that backdrop, and with COVID-19 coming in today, and from indications in as far as first quarter report is concerned, we're tracking in as far as revenue is concerned under 20% collections from what we forecast to collect. So I wouldn't say a recession in a big way. I would rather say our economy has contracted. We are depressed a little bit. As we conclude third quarter of this year, we'll be able to fully establish where we are.
With the country collecting under 20% of its projected revenue, the Prime Minister said they are considering another supplementary budget.
What we are possibly thinking is, based on the contraction of economy and underperformance or small drop in collection, we are envisaging to possibly tailor a supplementary budget in around third quarter of this year. If it does happen, it really is all about reprioritizing expenditure.
In January 2020, prior to COVID-19 global pandemic's impact, the World Bank forecast that real GDP growth in PNG was projected to hover around 3% on average in 2020 to 2022, with downside risk, including unexpected external shocks or potential domestic political and economic turbulence prevailing. They went on to say that PNG's revenue continued to face challenges arising from lower global commodity prices. World Bank pointed out that with such a highly dispersed and remote population of over 8 million people, the consequence of a COVID-19 outbreak in PNG has the potential to be devastating, and the future resilience and economic growth of the country will depend on how its health system responds to the pandemic in 2020. Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the NASFund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.288 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina is buying $0.2805 $0.3959 Australian dollars, €0.2371 and 29.44 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee closed lower, and cocoa and copper closed higher. Crude oil is trading lower, palm oil and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 8.92 points higher. The ASX 200 is trading at 151.43 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 153.13 points higher. National EMTV News continues with more stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Despite the tough economic situation in the country due to COVID-19, International Training Institute, or ITI, is offering scholarship to its students in the country. The 300,000 Kina worth scholarship was presented to over 100 students from its NCD campus, including students from other campuses. The scholarship is to assist students with financial constraints to continue their tertiary education.
Today, over 20 recipients of the scholarship in NCD gathered for a photo session with the media. These recipients are now enrolled with ITI under this scholarship, with more recipients in NCD and Central to be enrolled during the August intake. ITI have been providing this scholarship to students in provinces where their campuses are located, and it is part of their social responsibility.
We play tennis, Port Moresby crickets, and we do some other sponsors, but this is one of the biggest community service we provide, because we have to give back to the community, to the community, because probably the other one providing income to IT, whereas we had to give some back to the community to the PNG.
The institute has been providing tertiary education opportunities for students in the country for over 21 years, and for the past 8 years, they have been providing scholarship to grade 10 and 12 school leavers across the country. This year, over 100 students around the country benefited from this scholarship. These include 45 school leavers from schools in NCD and Central Province. This is to help less fortunate but brilliant students who cannot pursue tertiary education due to financial constraints.
Numbers here, Port Moresby we will give 45 scholarship, Alatau 5, Leh 16, and Kimbe 6, and KVN 4, Koraka is 10, Buka is 4, Argan is 7, and Manus 4, and Kiunga 4. Altogether, 105 scholarship has been given.
I would like to thank ITI for giving us, my colleagues and I, the opportunity to study here and broaden our knowledge for a better future for each and every one of us.
So far, International Training Institute, ITI, has been giving out scholarship to all the students across the country. That shows that the school is not only taken, but it's also given back to the citizens of this country. All I could say is thank you, ITI, for your generosity.
International Training Institute is also in the process of offering new diploma programs in different areas of studies. The diploma program includes tourism and hospitality and a certificate program in SME. And with the COVID crisis, they are developing an online program to support existing students.
Wish you good luck for the exams coming next week. At the same time, please continue to study with ITI for your future. At the same time, once you complete the course from ITI, you can come and approach our learning and development office. They can find the job for all our students. At the same time, if you want to start your own business and all, we can able to do some in-house training for our students.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
The PNGDF Engineering Battalion at Igam Barracks is using the self-help project to roll out projects amidst financial challenges. It is a platform to source funding to fund projects within the barracks. A number of projects have been completed so far and some are still underway. The recent project was a community footbridge which was opened last week. The project was funded by the Australian Defence Force. The area commandant of Igam Barracks, Lieutenant Colonel Joe Terikian, said the self-help project scheme exposes the various expertise of personnel under the Engineering Battalion Division.
The projects, we call them self-help project, where we can source funding, small funding within Defence Force, or we get the Australian Defence Force staff in lay to actually fund the projects, and we provided the manpower. It's a cost-effective way instead of trying to wait for those from outside with big ticket money to come and do their job. I mentioned earlier, I'm just working on the college budget for next year. There's some issues that the college will have to use the contractors. There are other little issues that to cut the cost, we will basically use our engineers to do the self-help projects.
The Lae City Authority launched its official website today in Lae that was set up by a local SME business based in Lae for 2,000 Kina. Lake Media SME, with the support of other individuals who reside in Lae with their interest in media, communications and websites. The LCA website is still under development. It contains all electronic payments for garbage, trading licenses and information on Lae.
Lae residents, business houses and those who wish to visit Lae can now have access to information about Lae through the Lae City Authority website that was officially launched today in Lae. The website enables residents and businesses to do electronic payments towards garbage and trading licenses. According to Lae MP and Minister for Lands and Physical Planning John Rosso, the website is part of making Lae a smart and innovative city.
Complaints, everything you need to know about Lae. It's work in progress. We're still moving it forward. It'll take another 6 months or something for it to get really up to standard. If you have any complaints or any suggestions or anything, please refer it to on the website, and we can try to improve our service for us. It's a first of its kind in Lae, and I'm very, very pleasantly happy.
The Lae City Authority engaged a local SME business in Lae to develop and host the website to empower SME and to give them an opportunity to reach their potential. Lake Media, with the support of individuals based in Lae, with a passion in photography, media and communications, and the support of LCA Acting CEO Neil Illery, set up and added content to the website.
It's www.lca.gov.pg. That's lca.gov.pg. So please do get on and have a look at it. It is still a work in progress, but we'd be very happy to hear any feedback.
The website was originally set up by a company last year before Lake Media took over and completed in 3 months. Lake Media will continue to work on the website until it's seen fit for the Lae City Authority to manage and host. The owner of Lake Media and a resident of Lae, Jeremy Mark, has called on young men and women to join him support SME in the district of Lae.
If you look around you will hear that there are a lot of young people who want to start up their business. You got plenty lined up. Olga Skills Law website, Olga Skills Law video photography. Na mi plus around Painim Law line. One example is Magile photography. He's one of those guys who's very talented. So me plus around Painim Law line, bring them under us, and me plus work together. So the guy from Magile Photography, Russell, is also involved in this as well. So we're looking out for other talents, other small SMEs out there, and MIPLA can work one time, and not just on the website, but any other projects that come up.
Julie Badui, OWA, National EMTV News, Lae.
Barrick New Guinea Limited has responded to comments by Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas on the Porgera mine operations in the province. The governor had stated that there were legacy issues with the mine that needs to be addressed and negotiated. Barrick, however, said that it has supported numerous requests by the governor in the past. Sir Peter Ipatas, who has been the governor for 23 years, wants better terms for the province.
All the other landowners in this country who have mining in the provinces, we have participated through Mineral Resource ENGA, which is owned by the landowners as well as the provincial government, with a 5% equity since day one. So we have participated. All we are saying is that 5% is not enough. We want an increased stake in the mine. So that is our position. Now, in my earlier statement, I did say that there are environmental issues. The issue of relocation is a problem because the people are living on a SML. Why didn't they relocate the people out of the SML in the last 30 years? That's a legacy issue. So I said there's a lot of legacy issues. So we need to sit down and talk about it and negotiate. And I think the Prime Minister has been fairly good. As far as I know, he has put out a position that the state and the country needs to have a better participation in all resources in this country.
And Trukai Sports is next. Fidelis Kina is at the sports desk.
And Trukai Sports is next, that's right. We have sports news on cricket, surfing and others. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Good night and welcome to Trukai Sports. The International Cricket Council yesterday confirmed the Men's T20 World Cup in Australia 2020 has been postponed due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Windows for the next 3 ICC men's events were also announced for the next 3 years.
In a meeting yesterday, International Cricket Council highlighted the windows for the men's events to bring clarity to the calendar. The windows for the men's events include ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2021, 2022 and 2023, all scheduled for October through to November respectively.
After a lot of internal deliberation, we finally came to a position to take the decision to postpone the 2020 T20 World Cup because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation and how we see that developing and across. You know, we need to factor in the amount of complexity that a world-class event with 16 teams participating brings in terms of safety and security of not just the teams, the players, but every person who is involved in making the tournament happen, which would include your broadcasters, your volunteers, your media, and they all play such an integral part. And when you put all of them together, you know, you're looking at close to 20,000 accredited people who are required to run an event. And for that kind of magnitude, to make sure that everybody is safe and secure is an extremely important decision that was taken through.
In the meantime, planning for the Women's Cricket World Cup 2021 continues as scheduled for February next year in New Zealand.
We continue to evaluate the situation in relation to planning for the event in the current window of February-March 2021. And while that evaluation process is being undertaken, the planning for the event continues as scheduled.
Meanwhile, back home, the Barramundis continue their preparations. According to head coach Joseph Dawes, the postponement is received with sadness, but a necessary move, considering what the world is faced with at the moment. Dawes added that this, in reality, is an opportunity to continue to improve and be better prepared for the tournament. Kilawani, Trukai Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues with more stories after this break.
Trukai Sports.
And welcome back to Trukai Sports. The Professional Golfers Association of Australia, event organizers of the Moresby and PNG Open, have announced the cancellation of both events after determining they could not guarantee the health and safety of players and stakeholders if the tournaments took place. The Moresby Open is now scheduled for the 29th of April through to the 2nd of May 2021 and will be followed by the PNG Open from the 6th of May at the Royal Port Moresby Golf Club. That will showcase PNG's top talent alongside Australasia's stars. And Jack Kedea, who was the chairman of Central Province Premier League until his passing earlier on this month, had his funeral service today at the Sioni Kami Memorial Church. Kedea was remembered for his passion to grow the game of rugby league, especially in the Central Province, and his administrative work in the sport. The Sioni Kami Memorial Church in Port Moresby today was the venue for a final farewell by friends and family of the late Jack Kedea. Described as a humble, always hospitable person, the founding chairman of the Central Province Premier League was described by those in rugby league circles as a passionate person who always wanted the best outcome. Jack will be forever remembered for his love of rugby league. After retiring from the Australian High Commission in 2014, after 35 years of service, he started the Central Province Premier League with his own capital. Apart from that, he was a team manager for the Kumuls in 2010, the team that took part in the Four Nations Challenge against Australia and New Zealand. And in 2013 and 2014 was the team manager of the Premiership winning Port Moresby Vipers. His family and his former employer, the Australian High Commission, all gave tributes, describing him as a family man and an exceptional colleague. For Port Moresby Rugby Football League, Jack Kedea was the treasurer of the competition until his passing, and also a member of the Lloyd Robson Oval Trustee, who are trustee to the Oil Search National Football Stadium. Chairman of the Port Moresby Rugby Football League, Dr. James Naipau, described Jack as someone who always wanted to get the job done and vowed to help in continuing his great work.
But I've seen Jack as a humble, quiet, and a guy that wants to get things done. On behalf of Common Republic, PNG Republic, the Southern Confab, the All Sets Trustee, and the All Sets Management, we pass our condolence messages to the family of late Jack. To me, Jack is still living, so Jack, William, may you take our friend, our father, our grandfather, our friend and colleague, and we will carry on what he has left off. Thank you.
And for 31 years, the PNG Surfing Association has been delivering tangible benefits under its model and policies. Recently, a number of villages around Vanimo in the Sundown Province received check payments as levies collected from inbound surfers. Mr. Andrew Abel, president of the Surfing Association, stated that resource custodians must directly participate in every facet of the tourism sector, from negotiations to the management of their resources. In receiving the payments, Florian Dati, a village elder and resource custodian, said They were very grateful for the wonderful assistance. And you're watching National MTV News, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, mostly fine weather in Port Moresby and Kerema. Mostly fine, cloudy with morning drizzles in Darum. Fine weather in Alotau and mostly fine, although partly cloudy in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, mostly fine, partly cloudy with morning drizzles in Lae. Fine, although partly cloudy tonight with morning rain drizzles in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, fine weather in Lorengau and Kavieng, mostly fine weather in Bukai. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine tonight, then morning fog in Mount Hagen, light drizzles, then morning fog in Wabag.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Tuesday, 21st July 2020. From all of us here at MTV, pleasant viewing. Good night.